Access database and add a couple of tables depending on your requirement into the thing. So you go open Microsoft Access, then we're going to create a blank database from scratch and add tables to it. So first you will name your database. I'm going to call it project database so that it can link to the NetBeans project I'm going to create later. And you get a window like this, and in this window you can see on the left side you have the ability to see all access objects, which are your objects, the tables, queries, forms, whatever, reports, whatever you create. If this window doesn't show, you may click here and tick on all access objects so that anything you create appears on the left side. So right now by default there is a table to store records in. So the design of the table has not been done yet. So I'm going to create my table. My table structure is going to be for keeping track of, let's say, students and their ID numbers along with their email details. So you will have to have an idea of what information or what is the data regarding the entity that you're going to store that is needed to be stored in the table so that you can select the appropriate data types. So first we have the table. So you can check the design view of the table. You give the table a name. The practice generally is to give it a prefix of TBL. So I'm going to call it TBL student, and the name of the table is now TBL student. And we come to the design view. So on the right, bottom right corner, you will see two icons. The one is the design view and one is the data sheet view. So if you move it like this, it shows you what is the data present in this table. If you go to the design view, it shows the design of the table itself. So first record, you can provide a ID. So I'm going to call it student ID. This can be on the right side, you can select the data types. So I want my student IDs to be in the form of 1, 2, 3, automatically incremented as soon as they are added. So we can leave it as auto number. The little key symbol on the right side shows that this field is the primary key. If you don't want this field to be the primary key, you may right click and untick primary key, so then the key symbol goes away. But it's always good to have a primary key in a table which uniquely identifies the records in the table. So because student ID is going to be unique, I would like student ID to be the primary key. Then we can have student name. The data type is short text, that's fine. Then the student surname, also short text. I'm going to add the date of birth of the student, which is going to be a date time field. I will also add let's say an email address for each student. I'm going to leave it as short text. And let's say we also want to add the grade of the student that the student is in, which is going to be a number. So at this point you have created the table with these fields, and we are going to now look at the data sheet view. Okay, so obviously we want to save the table, so save. This is a data sheet view. You may start entering the name of the student. So we can say it's Bob White. Date of birth is a date of birth you can select 2020, for example. The email is bob@bob.com. The grade is grade 3. This doesn't make sense with the date of birth, but you get the idea. So as soon as you've done and clicked on the next, you can see the student number is incremented to 1. If I add another one, Betty Smarts, for example, with a date of birth of something, and then it's Betty at betty.com, grade 10, and then you will see the auto number increments itself. So this is how you create a table. The rest of the features of a Microsoft Access will be shared in part 2 of this video, where we'll explore how to create queries, relationship diagrams, etc. between the multiple tables that you want to create. If you would like to add another table, you can go and say create table, and another table gets added. You may do the same thing as I mentioned, rename the table, go to the design view, and for example, table marks of the student. You may go add the fields, select the data types, and in the data sheet view, you can enter the data of the table. Hope this helps. Thank you.